Yeah, hit the ground running, never looking back, nah. On a mission, got that vision, it's a fact, yeah. Feel the fire in my soul, let the power take control. Every single goal, I'm coming for it all. Let's go! Bring the battle, bring your fame. God's face is looking down. Let's make history.
And I'm done.
Is there any point in being alive? Have you ever thought about, is there a reason that we're here? Or is there any purpose behind anything? I mean, we're born, we are raised to, go out and find food or to get a job and then live our lives, make more people, and then end up just dying, right? And what was it for? Some people, they also have horrible lives. They just suffer. That's all they do. And, some people, it's just they get like a great life where they end up being happy and they end up being rich. Great things happen to them. I mean, sure, they feel sad at times just because, life isn't perfect, but for them, it's really good. And you begin to go, well, I mean, what's the whole point of all this? It just seems repetitive or whatever, right? I'm gonna, live, die. What was it for? The memories, the people, etc. I think I know. At least, I've actually thought about this a lot. It seems like we're all here for a purpose. And now this is where some people may come into the conversation and say, well, actually, there is no purpose because there's no God, there's no larger design. This is all just motion happening chaotically, and by circumstance, we're here, So, almost dropped it. But anyway, I don't subscribe to those ideas, and I think even if you could pretend there was no God, right? Which I've thought that at some times in my life, there still is purpose and meaning. And it's actually something that's eluded me for a long time. Here, I'll show you something that some people, this might give them some purpose and meaning. Check that out. Isn't that pretty? Some people say that everything was made for God's glory. That's why we're here. It's probably a pretty decent example of God's glory, right? Something pretty. Now, a long time ago, I got very nihilistic, when I was younger, and I also got very deterministic in my thoughts. I thought everything would just, all preordained and whatnot, which I can't prove that it's not per se. But as I got older, I realized that, we all have our limitations. There's stuff that we can't control, and that even God himself is limited, which sounds crazy. If you go to any modern type of church, or if you talk to any type of pastor, they're going to tell you God has no limitations, it has no things that he can't do. It'd be impossible for him to be limited, but it's very obviously untrue. The very first thing you have to consider is that, well, God can't supposedly sin. That'd be something that he can't do. And then they would say, well, no, he chooses not to. Okay, well, it would be something that would break the definition of his character and therefore change who he is. And he would now be a changeable character or entity that wouldn't be consistent and has the capability of then becoming faulted or sinful, etc., right? God has to be unchanging by definition. And you're probably sitting here wondering, like, Justin, when are you going to get to the point about talking about what's our purpose, all these other things, the meaning of life, whatever. Well, the big thing is that because there's these unchangeable facts about reality, these things that make it so there are rules in place, general rules. Some people argue there's nuances where there can be little things fudged, but there are these hard and fast things. They are inferences to what the point and meaning of life is, right? Why is there so much stuff? Why are there so many things in existence? You know, why is the universe so big? Why not just exist somewhere with like a small room or just one little place to interact with, right? Well, it's quite obvious. And I'm going to make a very big jump to the conclusion so that I can give you the answer quickly. And that is, this is a giant, massive playground for God, which also is made up of himself. So you could say in a way that this is all God exploring himself, right? I mean, would you want to be the only thing in existence if you were all powerful, all knowing, all capable, etc.? It'd probably drive you crazy if you just stayed in a state of just a static single definition of completeness. You would go mad. It would be like a loop, re-looping and re-looping and re-looping, and then just breaking down into a static noise. So while we're here, we are all a part of God that is breaking himself up and trying to experience himself fully in this existence that he is. You, I, everything is a part of him, right? We can't not be a part of a single origin point. I mean, everything has to come from one place. If it doesn't, then that means there are opposing energies or forces that could counteract the literal laws and rules of reality. There could be changes in this game. It's far more likely we all come from one source. And because of that, we are all a part of that one source or energy, whatever it is, God. And therefore are all God, right? He's not making reality out of things that were already in existence. He's not picking up objects off the ground and crafting a universe. That's what we are doing. Instead, he is taking himself and crafting the universe, existence, reality, right? Out of nothing. Which I guess you could argue then that in a sense that we, when we cut down like a tree over there or something, are cutting down ourselves also to go make a house or something. But anyway, this is getting very maybe tricky for some people to follow. The point is, we, you and I, are here for the purpose of fully understanding ourselves, reality, God, and expressing the nature of God through our actions. We're seekers. We're experiencers. There's nothing else. There's nothing else outside of God and his creation. So anyway, the purpose, the meaning of life is to find truth. It's to find what is real. And in order to do that, we have to act in a real way. You have to survive. And that's the fun part of the game, is we have to go through these obstacles. You have to eat, build shelter, compete with yourself, with other humans, and then work up the opportunity to build up civilization so that we have a moment in time where we have enough opportunity and resources to study ourselves. You could say it's almost a big distraction that God is making for himself. God already knows all the answers, right? He already knows everything. It's almost like breaking himself up into all of us. He's then taking an opportunity to distract himself and confuse himself by making all of us being a part of him and then rediscovering himself. It'd almost be like wrapping a present, putting it under the Christmas tree and making it for yourself, and then Christmas Day comes. Hopefully you forgot about what it was in the present by the time that day is there, and you can open it and surprise yourself. That is really more or less the purpose of life. That's what we're here doing. And when you know that it's a game and all this stuff, you start treating it like that. And you live out your life going on the mission of seeking truth and understanding, becoming wiser, and going through the obstacles you have to go through to gain that wisdom and knowledge. That's what it's all here. That's why it's like every single time you listen to a fairy tale or something or whatever, at the end of it, they always say, what was the moral of the story? That's really the whole thing. Every lesson and story we're learning is or every action we take is a part of a story where we're trying to learn a moral. It's not always a happy ending story, though, by the way. Sometimes they're tragic. So anyway, if you get too confounded by this, what's the meaning, life, purpose of life thing, you struggle with it, remember, you are here to play out a role and be a part of a larger story, to seek truth. That is why we are here. And you might think that everything is difficult, painful, full of suffering and all of these things, and that makes it so that it couldn't be that simple. That's not the case. There wouldn't be a story, a plot, any type of fun in a game if there wasn't conflict. That stuff has to be here. Don't take it so seriously. This is all part of a game we're living in. Enjoy it. But hey, that's all I have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed some of this nature out here. The snow is kind of cool and fun. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.